Pow. All right, so what are we looking for? Medium-term trend change, basically. There are different ways that you could do this. These are the kind of standard ones that I use most of the time. These are the ones that are on my charts. The reason is because for the most part what I'm looking for is like longer term trends. What is very interesting to me here is this. And this is now, wow, I'm going to contradict myself in a huge way here, because this, it hasn't happened yet. Let's just do that. It hasn't happened yet, right? But oh my greatness, is it close? Right? So we'll give it a 0 for now. We'll give it a 0. We'll give it a 0, but I mean, so okay, I don't know if you guys remember what we look for. What I look for here is I look for a 50 and a 100-day moving average crossover while price is underneath the 200. I mean, that is the textbook example of that. Actually, it doesn't get any better. So look at what it does. 50 100-day moving average crossover above the, while price is above 200, and that is a huge sell signal, right? Let's go back. Oh man. Okay, this is 2014. Big crash. All right, it faked out once. Then on the second signal, it was the bottom. Well, pretty close. Just take a log off. Oh my goodness, these charts are so messy. And on the second, so if it faked out the first time, second signal, it gave, price was faked out the first one, second one it gave there, and it had already broken. Sure. And it came back under. Messy business. But you can see this convergence of this thing here is just really when that trend changes. So I think, man, guys, this is hard for me. This is hard. I'm bullish. All right. So let's look at, let's do this in a very long time frame. And I'm talking from now to 2021. I'm bullish. And I think that this might be an interesting opportunity developing over the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, that we might get a medium-term trend reversal, right? We could also look for support resistance here, right? So that, as we remember, is a confirmed resistance level thing. So we're going to mark it. This is as well, that is a resistance level. So this whole area here becomes a resistance zone. We're going to stick to our zones. Yeah, rectangle. So this is a resistance zone, right? And this at the bottom here, that is a support level, that is a support level, that is a support level, that is a support level. So we have to include all of them, and we're going to say we can even project this a bit forward. Okay, so maybe what the trade is here is a range trade between these two extremes. Okay, we can then look at shorter term time frames to try and find opportunities in and out this range. You can see consolidation break, sort of consolidation, yes, see, breaks, retest halfway through the consolidation, breaks again. There's a bit of a sort of a rounding top kind of situation. So maybe the trick is here to either wait for a break of this resistance level on the daily before you can consider taking long positions. And by then the stochastics and the MACDs and that stuff might all look very different. Alternatively, wait for a breakdown of this before you enter any shorts. So right now it does feel like it's in a little bit of the middle of nowhere, but according to our little scoring system here, we have a total call it sentiment of -7, which out of a possible 9 is very cuck, right? So this is as bearish as it gets from a technical perspective, at least using daily charts and daily data. If we look at a 1 hour chart, the picture may be somewhat different. I just want to check. Alright, okay. Shows you offline. Okay, back again. Man, I don't know why this thing does that. Sorry about that, guys. Alright. So from a trend following perspective on the daily, it is definitely bearish. Even on the yeah, see, how's this? Like it goes in steps: up, flat, dead, flat. So for me now, there's no trade here. The only trade here is a longer term trade based on fundamentals. That's a nice little consolidation there. Yeah, I think this is a consolidation, even on the 1 hour. We can see there's a couple of levels here. So I think that the trade is to try and range trade it. Wait for sort of prices to come down to around 3.4, maybe sub 3.4. Could be potential buy areas, selling at about 4.3, or 4.250, 4.200. Alternatively, shorting here, selling there, and yes, you can short it. You use a perpetual inverse swap contract to do that. Don't ask me where to trade them. It's pretty much a bucket shop, but they are out there. They are available. So yes, so that's Bitcoin, guys. Any questions? The truth is, if this was a stock, right, what I would be doing is looking to go short, basically looking to go short a break of this. Let me just free this bloody access here. Looking to go short a break of this support level. That's what I would be doing. You could also probably say here, well, based on the tools that we have, and I think it's important that we stick to using the tools that we have so that we learn how to use them proper. I'm just going to make that a bit smaller. It's like offensively big at this stage. That could potentially be a triangle formation as well, which is a trend continuation signal. Actually, it's not quite symmetrical, but it's more symmetrical than it is flat top. I mean, I don't know. I suppose open to interpretation. It could be flat top as well because it's only -2 degrees. And if you don't use that high but use this high rather, then it is a flat top triangle. So I have the beer holder, guys. But technically, you have to be bearish on the stock. That is the truth. Well, on this crypto. That is the truth. And also from a day perspective, we have had bullish crosses of the 5100 before and they failed. So for now, bearish, look to short a break of this triangle and or support level. That's the call. Ha! Not what I fundamentally believe, but that is what the chart is saying. So unfortunately, I have no choice. Alrighty, okay, we're gonna move right along. What is our next stock that we are looking at? We are gonna look at Aspen. Okay, I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to copy all of this stuff, and I'm going to do this. And we're going to look at Aspen. We're going to start with zeros, and we're going to work our way through. Aspen daily chart. Go away, go away, go away. Right, so let's start with the trend. The trend, my friend, is down. We can draw in a trend line here to try and figure out where we are in the bigger scheme of things, but we are very obviously in a downtrend, right? So we're going to say this is our primary trend. That is a primary trend. That's all kind of tertiary stuff. So we need a secondary trend to maybe bring us back to the trend line before continuation of the primary trend. But primary trend is down. Sorry, I'm not showing you this. This is what I'm looking at. We've drawn a trend line in here, connecting some highs over the last, 4 years. Trend is down, 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 down. That was a flat bottom triangle. Ironically, well, not quite, but because that was below, so that would have sort of snuck you in, probably spat you out, and then bang, results, eh? Wow. But yeah, so the trend is very obviously down here, right? So I'm going to give it a -1 on our little score sheet. Unbalanced volume, does that help? I can already tell you that this thing is going to have a spike, so it may not be all that helpful, because we are going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add them all. I'm just going to hide them. All right. Okay. So there's our spike, but unbalanced volume is going in direction of trend, right? Which is down. So I'm going to give that a -1 as well. So our trend is absolutely down, which tells me that we need to be looking for short positions rather than long positions. I just want to make sure that the stream is actually still up. Event is completed. That's not right. I don't know why it's doing this now. I just want to see here. What is going on? Alright, okay. Sorry, my thingy has not worked, so I have no idea if I've been missing out on any questions and or things. But alright, okay, so trend on Aspen is down. Change screen. I'll get better at this, guys. But okay, cool. So the trend is down. So the next thing on our scoring little thing is we need to look at OBV, which is, we've seen this down, and then we need to look at a stochastic. So we're going to change back to the front, and we're going to add a stochastic. Boom. I want to ride my bicycle. Just move that away. You know what? I'll just. Oh right, you can change it. It's fancy, but okay. I'm just gonna do it every time. 1433. Style, no background, no, go away. I don't want background. Go away. And I want that, and I want that. It's maybe a bit thick. Bang. Okay, so what's interesting here is we have a buy signal. Eh? That is a buy signal. It comes from an oversold position into, I'm going to make it big, make the stochastic bigger. This is really hard to see, I realize. So I'm going to make it green. Okay, so green is our K line, red is our D line. So that is the 20 level over here, that nice little dotted line there. We can even make that bigger, yellow, and it was all yellow. Alright, so we have a move from oversold up into positive territory. We have a cross of our K and D line, so that is 2 buy signals on our stochastic. And we, well, have had some resistance here at this 50 level. We're not quite clear of 50 as yet, but for now I'm going to call that, just looking at that, a buy signal on the stochastic, right? So looking to the left, we want to see a 1. Do we have divergence on our stochastic? Let's have a look. We have obviously a brand spanking new low in conjunction with a brand spanking new. That could be slightly bullish. Let's give us a little sexy trend line. That could be slightly bullish, and that is obviously not. So that could be. Let's consult our cheat sheet. So, hey man, I never switch these screens. Okay, so cheat sheet shows that we have higher lows, lower highs, gives us a bullish situation. Center screen, ta-da! So this is what I was looking at earlier. Those are sort of higher lows, those are lower lows, right? But I don't really know if it counts. Oh man, yes. Kan 'n man so sukkel. Let's do that. Alright, so that all lines up, and that is technically bullish divergence. Alright, okay. Is there any other kind of divergence? Yes, there is. Alright, so what now? Ooh, now it's confusing. Because those are lower highs and those are higher highs, right? And according to our cheat sheet over here, lower highs and higher highs is bearish. So we have 2 different types of divergence telling us 2 different things using the same data. So I'm going to call that a 0 because it is conflicting signals. So divergence, stochastic divergence, 0, right? I will delete these for the sake of ease, otherwise they will confuse us. Okay, so let's look at the MACD. Is the stream still up here? Yeah. So let's look at the MACD. MACD. I realize that we are going very, very slowly, or I'm going very, very slowly, mostly because I spoke so much cuck. I know we want to keep that red. We want the histogram to be green. Alright, and we want the blue we might not see. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that. Ow. Look at the MACD. MACD is giving us a sell. Okay, so we've got a couple of things. We have an open sell signal on the MACD. We have the the signal line and the MACD line crossing. Both are below the midpoint or below 0. So that is definitely a negative MACD, correct? While we're at it, is there any divergence? I don't think there's anything that stands out that's super obvious to me. So I'm going to give it a 0 on divergence, and I'm going to give it a -1 on the MACD signal. So MACD signal gets a -1, and a MACD divergence gets a 0. Okay. What is next? Now we apply an RSI. Relative strength, go away. Yes. No. Make that a bit bigger, I guess. And plot that. And a bit white. Meh. Make it yellow. Keep it exciting. Oh yeah. Okay, so we are in a oversold situation, but we know that we can stay oversold for a very long time. We have had a cross up above the from oversold into sort of bullish territory and a little retest back, and the current reading on that is actually 29.2747. As you can see, it shows the reading over here, right? So 29.2747, which means it is below 30, which means it is oversold, which means it is not crossed up and given a buy signal. So this is a no signal on the RSI. There is nothing for us here. RSI signal again with the 0. Divergence on the RSI we are now looking for. Do we have any? We have, these are higher highs, these are lower highs, and if I'm not mistaken, higher highs and lower highs is bearish continuation divergence, right? So we're going to give that a nice fancy -1. And then a moving average crossover is our next thing. Indicators, moving average. We want 3. Yes, might as well keep these moving averages on, actually, now that I think about it. What do we got here? Let's use green for 50. Oh, not 950. It's crazy. What crazy talk is this? And we're going to use 100. We're going to make it red over there, and 200 we're going to make white, just because it's easy to see with the background. Cool. So we have a very negative trend looking situation here. No real immediate indication of buy or sell, maybe just trend continuation stuff. There was nice opportunity to sell in here if we use a proper trend following system. Man, I suck at switching these screens. Sorry guys. So anyway, so looking at this, there's no real I mean the trend is obviously down. Doesn't seem to be any signals. We can change these moving averages up a little bit to keep them exciting. Let's make a 7 and a 21, see if that gives us any joy. 7, 21 and 50. Do we have anything? Yeah, and these are all pointing down as well. All these are in a negative situation, so you've got your shortest moving average underneath your medium term, underneath your longer term one here as well. I mean, it seems, ladies and gentlemen, that there is no hope for the stock. So I don't think that there is any reason to be long here whatsoever. Moving average, in fact, I'm going to score -1. So just to show you the score here, then is -2 on trend and -2 on entry, or sort of reasons to enter, right? So there's no reason to be long. So yeah, I guess there's no reason to be really short either. So for now, there's like really not a trade here. Like with Bitcoin, we had a score better than 4 on the reasons to enter. So you can then look for an entry point, being some sort of a trigger, like a break of a support or resistance level, or whatever the case is. Because that's really the only reason, the only thing that's going to get you into trade is a break of support or resistance of some way, shape, or form. And trend was obviously down as well, so that makes sense. There's nothing here for us. We need 4 or better as a reason to trade, and we need a confirmed trend. We do have a confirmed trend. It is down, but we do not have a reason to trade it, so we can't really look for an entry. I mean, we can, you know, it's kind of whichever way you swing the bat at this point is kind of just a guess, right? If you really wanted to, you could say that this is a short, and you would have to put your stop loss up at 2 previous lows ago, or 2 previous highs ago in this case. So you're going to have to stop loss here at 173, which is a mighty long way away. And you're probably then looking for support here, which is coming in at 70 or 25, 26. You could probably put your stop slightly higher. I mean, it could go for gap close, anything can happen here. So for now, there's no real surefire safe trade that you can do on Aspen, in my view at least. Alrighty, let's look. Any questions, guys? Any questions? We are going to then move on to our next trade, or our next one, which is Nasbash. We're gonna run our same score sheet. In the meantime, guys, if you want to submit any kind of charts of your own, let's have a look at them. We can even do fancy stuff like I can open a channel on Discord and you can explain it to us. Ha, how's that? But oh yeah, not NMP, Nasbash. So let's do it. Let's do it, Nasbash. You load your data. Yo, this streaming business really slows my computer down. Alright, okay, alright. Okay, so the trend is up. Let's have a look. We're gonna do our, that is Nasbash. And we're going to just delete these things. Alright, okay. So got a little score sheet for it. So let's have a look. Trend is up. Primary trend on the stock is up, right? So looking at the last 4 years, it's up. Looking at the last 3 years, it's up. Sorry, I gotta click my neck. It's a bad habit. Over the last 1 year, the trend is down. So we've got to ask ourselves, is this the primary or the secondary trend? The one thing that we were looking at the other day was this. That could be a potential break of this secondary trend and a continuation back into the primary trend, okay? Because we have this this situation. Also, just as a note, guys, the S&P 500 might take out a significant resistance level, and if that is the case, then I'm going to be forced to be bullish. This thing is off. Can't see. But alright, let's have a look. So our shorter term moving averages are all arranged in a bullish fashion. We have a bullish cross over there, and it's moved into like the area between the two, which is the buy zone. We have 50 underneath the 21, underneath the 7. So everything on the moving average front here is bullish in this little section. If we change these moving averages to 50, 100, and 200, 50, 100, and 200. Then we have what was appearing to be a buy signal. This is a buy signal here, or a bullish crossover. We're about to do a bullish crossover here, and then that one will come shortly after. So this is also starting to look a bit more bullish. All right. So from a moving average crossover perspective, we're entering into bullish territory. We're not yet at the stage where we are in full-on bull trend, where we can see all these moving averages are, you know, in the order they should be: short, medium, long. But we are approaching that phase again. Okay, and the shorter term moving averages, if you look at like the 721.50, which is also like a fairly cool combination of moving averages to use, then you already are there. So I guess this is where your discretion comes in, and you can say that you maybe want to look at you know, the shorter term stuff in this case to score it positive on moving average crossover, because that is what I'm going to do. MA cross. Oh wow, I realize now. You didn't see that this whole time. So moving average crossover gets a 1. Okay. So then also trend is up, gets a 1, And then let's have a look at whether our trend is confirmed with OBV, because believe it or not, sometimes it does not confirm. Okay, so what do we have here? When the price has moved up, it's been up. Now we've had the secondary trend down, and it's been down. So for now, it's kind of going nowhere. I wouldn't say. I mean, what's interesting here is on these big smashes down, the volume was down as well. So to show you on these big smashes down that the thing had here, volume did come off. There was more volume trading on the low on the down days there. Here in all this chop and slow grind, volume hasn't really been increasing on the up days. Recently, it seems when this little breakout, what seems to be a breakout of this little trend line here, has happened on slightly bigger volume. I just want to have a look as well at regular old volume. So there was quite a bit of volume, but on the actual day of the outbreak, the breakout, it doesn't look like there was a whole isn't like a huge volume spike here, but it was a significant update, right? So this is why the volume is being added together here. So I'm going to say that this is not a confirmed OBV. It just doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy. I don't know if you disagree with me. I'm open to criticism, but for me this does not feel like the nicest thing. I feel like, I mean, this could be one hell of a breakout here actually that you need to be long, and this probably, yeah, also, you know what, hey, this thing is sloping up a little bit. I mean, let's be honest here. Where's my trend angle? That is an upslope, right? That is an upslope. There's no doubt in that. So, well, okay, fine. We'll score it a 1. 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 You know what I should do actually with this little model? I'm going to move MA cross into that. I'm going to make that smaller. And I'm going to make that bigger. Alright. That makes a bit more sense to me. Wrong one. What is next? We are now stochastic setup, yeah. Stochastic. 4, 3, 1, 1 style. Go away. Make it bigger, make it bigger. And green because nobody likes blue. Alright, okay. So do we have a buy signal? No, we do not. We have a sell signal. We are under sell signal on stochastic. It tested 80, got rejected, and it is under sell signal, yeah. So we are going to give it stochastic signal a -1. -1. Is there any divergence on the stochastic? I'm just gonna move this thing to be slightly more logical, man. Divergence stochastic, click, MACD signal, click, divergence. Alright. Okay, do we have a divergence? We have, that is a significant low, that's kind of like a nice uptrend, so that's kind of like a nice uptrend, that's fine. Those are higher lows, that's, I'm gonna consult my, I'm again doing things on the wrong screen. I'm going to consult my trusty cheat sheet. What we have here is normal bearish divergence, because I'm just going to remove, I'm going to draw a different color line actually, because them higher highs on my fancy yellow line, and those are lower highs. Oh, well, while we're here, wow, right? What a difference scale makes. Right, so that is bearish divergence. Dun, da, da, da. And we have then on our score sheet a -1. And then we're going to add a MACD. Oh, this is annoying having to change the stuff all the time. Okay, I'm just going to take this trend line. I mean, I don't want to remove that trend line because I think it's relatively important that we keep reference of it. But I think what we should do is maybe make it dotted so that it's less invasive. Okay, once again we have lower highs here and higher highs here, which is again bearish divergence, but we are under buy signal. Yeah, that's interesting. So lower, those are higher highs, right? Those are lower highs. So that's bearish divergence, but a buy signal. So let's score that. MACD gets a buy signal, but bearish divergence. RSI. Relative strength. Oh God. I wonder if I should just leave them all on. They're so terrible. Relative strength. So there we go. So relative strength here is finally not giving divergence because we have high highs, high lows. So we have no divergence here, but we have a reversal. So no real buy or sell signal either. What we do have, which is interesting, is this 50 level being like support. So I mean, there's no real signal here, but the trend indicator here, or the trend indication of trend here, is that it is long. So I'm going to give this a 0, and I'm going to also score it a 0 on divergence, because there's no bullish divergence, is there? I don't know. I can't see anything. That's stretching it a bit far, maybe. Yeah, so I can't see anything. I can't see anything here. So on the divergence, I'm going to give it a 0, and on RSI, I'm going to give it a 0. So our overall total sentiment here is 1. Basically, what this is telling me is that, sorry, I'm just going to move this thing a little bit, is that it's a bit confusing, right? So from a strictly trend following oscillator momentum basis, there's no real reason for me to be involved in the stock at this stage. There's no real reason for me to be involved in the stock at this stage. What is kind of exciting is that it could be breaking out here, right? It could be making a bit of a break, a bit of a bull flag, I guess you could say. So if I take that and I copy it, my bad, copy, clone, and we put it here, and you can say that's like a bull flag, right? A fairly big bull flag. But what is a bit concerning is that it didn't actually break on very high volume, right? Here the stochastic did cross over the 50, did give a buy signal down here. Seems to be running out a bit of momentum, but it is above 50, so I guess the momentum is towards the upside here, but it doesn't seem to be very, very strong momentum. I left the damn aircon on, so it's getting colder and colder. So it doesn't seem to be very strong momentum, so I don't quite know if I am that convinced that this is going to be a breakout. What I would maybe think to do here is put on sort of a set of triggers, right? I'm going to just I wish I could make these things smaller, but I don't know how. Put on a set of triggers, right? So if we say that it needs to take out this like resistance area here, that looks like it is a bit of a like a resistance area, right? Maybe it needs to get through that first before I'll be convinced that it's a long. That's a long way up, but it's not that. But okay, it is a long way up. But that would be like a real convincing move for me that it has broken out of the trend. Alternatively, you could be a bit more aggressive and say that if it breaks kind of this level here, if it breaks up above that, it's a more aggressive way of looking at it. Then you might want to go long as well, because you can actually project it all the way back to here and say that this is your resistance level. So until we've seen a move up through that, I don't think that you could trade, because from like a momentum basis, trend basis, trend is definitely on your side because the trend is up and has been for a very long time. But momentum based on like the indicators that we're using, stochastic, MACD, RSI, that type of stuff, is not convincingly giving signals for us to be long. So I guess for now, a no trade from my side at least. Oh, this thing is annoying. Okay, what does Peter say here? Not special long, yes, not yet, like a bit more up. Oh, I'm 200. Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, it would be nice to see some stronger buy signals before going live. This thing is now going to beep for ages, and it's going to be annoying, so I'm going to turn it off. Alright, cool. So let's move on to the next stock. AMS. The guys, you who are watching, there's a handful of you guys. If you have stuff you want me to look at, then tell me. Otherwise, I'm going to work through this list that we specified earlier, which is next up is Anglo American Platinum, Impala, Kumba, PPC, ShopRite, MTN, Glencore, PSG. I'm not going to get through all of them, let's be honest. What I will do though, is I will, because obviously I'm going much slower, what I will do though is I'll make a slightly neater version of the score sheet sometime during the course of the day tomorrow, and then I'll stick it up on the Discord so you guys can look at it, and then I'll attach my charts and comments to that as well if you guys want to have a look, and then you're welcome to ask questions based on that stuff. But for the sake of continuity, let's keep going. I'm going to move slightly faster. We're going to do another 3. Okay, I think that what we've done is we're kind of illustrating the point of how these of how to kind of be thinking in terms of identifying trades. It's not just okay, cool, these things are all pointing in the same direction, let's go. We kind of want to make sure that we have a confirmed trend and a confirmed this, like we really want to be quite a bit safer with this stuff than just shooting in the dark. But alright, let's have a look at AMS. Load, damn it. I'm going to add my stochastic as well. Give me that stochastic. Make the stochastic bigger. 733, made 1433. Go away. We want green. We want it big. We want it big. Not that big. Okay. Alright, so let's start with the trend. Zinedine the trend. Trend is very clearly up on this bad boy. I'm not this kind of guy that has 3 indicators. It makes me grill. But alright, so AMS trend is up. OBV we'll look at in a second. Moving averages are all positive. I'm going to delete these for now and work through them in a second. Stochastic signal is A-1. It doesn't look very obvious. MACD is -1. Obvious. RSI is -1. Wow. Not too obvious. And then OBV. OBV, come on. OBV. Yes, I need to buy a faster computer. It's only the streaming stuff that really kills. Because you know I'm running multiple operating systems at the same time as well, and the trend confirms up too. Alright, so this is a very interesting situation. Ha 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 ha. Because from the way that I see it is we have a round 0. The trend is up, but all of the momentum indicators are starting to tell us like sell. Right? Am I missing like divergence here? I don't think, well, those are lower highs. I just want to see something. Those are lower highs. That is divergence. Alright, fine. We'll call that divergence on the stochastic. So -1. Alright, so, and I'll tell you why I was looking at there. Reason to be short, but the trend is up. So, what now? Now, we have a very interesting situation where I'm just going to make this bigger. We have a consolidation. Yes, and a consolidation means, ta-da, a setup. So, there is no reason to be, so there's like a confirmed uptrend, but also a sort of strong enough case for you to start looking for shorts, right? So what do? Ha ha ha, go away. You look at the consolidation and you trade that. So what I think is going to happen here is one of two things. We break down through here and we aim for this red moving average, okay, which is a 50-day, or sorry, 100-day moving average, because as we can see historically, we have a relationship with this moving average. When we are trending up, the area between the 50 and the 100-day moving average, from a trend following perspective, is the buying zone. That's kind of where we want to be accumulating stock, right? We have consolidation and potentially a move. If we break down below here, I would not take the short. I would look to be buying in this area between here, because our trend is so strong. We can't trade against the trend, okay? Rule number 1. So we are getting a bunch of sell signals from momentum-based things. So it's telling us momentum is running up, momentum is running up, momentum is running up, but the trend is still up. So we're not going to fight against the trend by trying to short it, but we are going to sit and wait very patiently. And if you're wondering, that was my chair that was squeaking. I'll do it again. No, I can't. There, oh my god. Anyway, alright, fine. So momentum is up, momentum is waning while the trend is up. So that tells me that I want to potentially trade a retracement here. So wait for a retracement. If then the momentum changes back up and we have a setup to go along, then we follow the trend, right? So if you really are a very risky kind of guy or gal, then you could probably try and trade this consolidation breakout here. And I mean, that's going to be super easy. You just wait for a daily close below the level, and you put your stop loss halfway in the middle, and pow, it's your trade. And you can maybe stick a ATR times 2. Hey, I haven't done any of that ATR times 2 stuff. So sorry about that, the risk management stuff. None of you even said anything about it. But anyway, alright. Barlow World. Alright, I'll look at Barlow World. So my thinking would be rather to try and catch it in this area here. This thing. This is the worst bloody box draw in the whole wide world. I don't want to use that box anymore. That's the box draw that I want to use. So I try to, if it comes into this area over here, right? Alternatively, wait for the break up, right? And if this thing breaks up higher, these momentum indicators may have changed because a couple of days will have to pass before that happens, and we may have a different picture on our momentum sort of based indicators here. Now, also, just these are not the only indicators that are out there. There are many others that you can use in conjunction with one another, but this is like just a way of applying stuff and identifying opportunities. And opportunities somehow, well, we've only looked at like 4 instruments, seem to be relatively scarce. But this could be a potential trade if we are patient enough to wait for either a breakout of this consolidation to the upside, or for a potential setup to go long in this here. So this is definitely something that you can put on the watch list. Well, something that I can put on the watch list for myself. So let's quickly look at Barlow's. Barlow World, we're going to just start with the trend. The trend, my friend, is up over a long period of time, since 2016 to now. It's about 3 years. Let's go back a bit further. 2015, yeah, okay, fine, it's still kind of up. 2016 to now does look pretty decent. That was a proper sell. This was a buy signal, and we're starting to see these moving averages all crossing over. That's bullish. That's about to turn bullish. Price is finding support on top of these moving averages, both a short and long-term one. Liquidity isn't the greatest. Ooh, I couldn't fight it. But okay, so from a trend perspective, it's up. Moving averages are bullish. Not entirely 100% bullish, but somewhat bullish. So what we're going to change this to a 7. We're just going to put a slightly shorter term moving averages on so that we can get some better perspective. 721 is bearish, but that is a relatively messy indicator, and 50, so that smooths it out a little bit, and that is to me a bullish configuration. Yes, we have a bearish cross of the 7 and 21, but that's very short term. The fact that this 50-day moving average is holding a nice little support level, I mean, you can see here it's like acting like a support level, right? That is pretty cool in my book. We did close today below this, but liquidity, as I said, is a bit of problem. So moving averages, I would say, has actually recently turned from bearish to bullish. To be ultra close, I mean, to be ultra safe, let's just put a 89-day moving. Are you ready to start earning? I get so much spam, you have no idea, guys. Wow. If you get these SMSs about flipping Bitcoin and online fucking Bitcoin robot mining shit, I don't know, it's terrible. I know we were looking at Bitcoin charts earlier, maybe it's my punishment. Anyway, okay, so looking at an 89-day moving average is what I changed this to now, which is a kind of longer term beautiful indicator of trend. We can see that this has now turned into a bullish trend. So I'm going to be bullish on the moving averages here and on the trend in general for this thing. So let's look at Barlow World. trend is up, moving average is up. What does the OBV say? On balance volume. I'm going to remove these. This is impossible. Alright, okay. On balance volume is not confirming the power of the uptrend, but I guess that's not too surprising. Considering that in the short term, this year at least, the secondary trend has been down and the OBV is confirming that. So, you know, over the long term here, I suppose, okay, there's a huge volume spike, so we're going to have to ignore that. That's kind of confirming, I guess, because that is moving. Oh, you can't see that. I'm going to have to move me. Where's me? There, back. Haha! Alright. So, you know, the trend on that indicator is up, but it might not necessarily be, you know, what you were looking for. So I'm going to say OBV is 0 for me, because it doesn't feel obvious. If it doesn't feel obvious, it's not obvious. Let's quickly add a stochastic. It's always got to be that. Oh wait. Ziggy. That is a buy signal. It's not under 20, but it is a crossover, so that's fine. Those lower lows. That is bearish. That is bearish. It's a very short time frame. Alright, okay. So there it is. So there's your highs. Click. And there's your highs. That's bearish divergence, right? So stochastic gives a +1 for buy signal, -1 for bearish divergence. I've got that thing in my head now. Ziggy. That was some stuff we sang in high school or primary school or whatever. MACD in the yellow. MACD. Okay, let's look at the MACD. The MACD is giving me a similar. Oh no, there's no divergence there. But negative, still above. That is starting to slope. Slope is changing there a little bit, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. So on one side I've got no divergence on MACD, right? So that is a 0. And my MACD signal is -1. Yeah, MACD signal is -1. Okay. RSI. Sold, it's come down, tested and broken below 50. No, not a ray. I don't want a ray, I want a line. Okay, so that's testing 50, 50, 50, breaks through it, comes and tests it again, reverses off of it. That I'm going to call a sell signal. There's a highs. Yeah, so there's no divergence, but there's a sell signal. And we have an interesting situation because again we have a total sentiment score of 0, which is interesting because if you look at the way that the price has been changing for the last couple of sessions, yes, stop with the zoom already, goodness. All right. If you look at the way that the stock has been trading over the last couple of sessions, well, last couple of sessions, let's say from June last year to now, it's kind of going nowhere slowly. Okay, we ignore this little drop into the thing here, but we have this like huge consolidation that's been taking place ever since here, right? Oy, give me that bloody tool, man. There we go. So we have this consolidation that's been taking place here. So I think that we're I mean there's no trend, or there is like a potential of a trend changing, but there's no real momentum behind it. You've got some buy signals, you've got some sell signals, you've got nothing really telling us that we have clear direction, so there's no safe play. The only trade that you could possibly take here is trading this range, right? And then you'd be waiting for consolidations around the top or bottom of the range and trying to trade breaks on those consolidations on shorter time frames. For now, yeah, I mean, from a CFD perspective, there's better use of capital. There's no real trade. That's what I say. National output DB. All right, let's look what that is. Oh, yes, National After Art. Yes, dude. Yes. All right, thank you. You've changed my whole world in like an evening. Wow, the goodness that feels. I'm sure I've done this once before, actually. Someone on Twitter said to me that I need to do that as well. But okay, cool. Let's look at. I see we have a chart here, so in the Discord. So bar the world, sure. DSY price and OBV making downtrend. Yeah. Okay. See, I quite enjoy this that Chris has done here. Let me see if I can make the chart a bit bigger. So he's put a range on his OBV as well, right? So you can see that it's like trading in a downtrend here. What are you looking at? Daily, 715.50. Okay, decent sort of set of MA stuff. I mean, obviously it's going to be different for everyone else. MACD is looking kind of bearish. It's in a down channel. So yeah, I mean, this is obviously then short. The question is, where's the setup here? Like, where's the high probability setup? So you're going to have to stop out here or here. So I mean, you could comfortably say that we are heading down towards this yellow line. I mean, we might find a bit of support here, right? But I mean, that's kind of your target. If your channel line holds true, which I think it probably will. But where do you get in? Where do you get on the bus? There's no like opportune moment to strike, I don't feel. Right, let's look. What else is here? Chart game. Oh right, this is AMS. So what was the question here? Will OBV also have a pullback to the trend line? You know, if it comes down, then it probably would, yeah. Then it probably would. Then OBV would probably have a pullback to the trend line indeed. So just look at this chart. I don't know if you guys can see this, but here the unbalanced volume is he's drawn in this little yellow dotted line here, a trend line on the on-balance volume, and it's kind of moved away from the trend line. We have a sell signal on the MACD. We have this consolidation that we were looking at earlier. So if that comes down, then maybe we have a pullback on the trend line of this on-balance volume down to the trend line. If we see that pullback, this bounces up, we get a nice moving average, or we get a nice sort of MACD signal cross here, and you know, some sort of a consolidation and or break towards the upside. After a pullback, then we have a valid reason to be long, right? At least so I think. Okay, so what's the time? It's almost 9. Should I do one more, guys? I think I'll do one more. I don't want to take like too much of your time, but I do still see there are at least some guys watching, so let us do one more. What was our next task here? Impala and Kumba. So alright, okay, so Impala, I'm just going to look at these things relatively quickly. Impala, yes, yeah, power. Looks, it's going to be very similar to AMS actually. There's actually a longer term chart that I did here, but I mean it's a long way away. Basically what I'm thinking is that this is a long-term rounding bottom. Well, no, it's more Spania. Alright, so trend looking good, a little overbought. It's nice consolidation here. I honestly think that these things break higher. But let's look stochastic, and we want RSI, and we want McDonald's. The histogram. Histogram is green. I don't know if you guys ever watched this show called Robot Chicken. I loved it, man. I got that thing in my head, and then some weird stuff happens, as is the nature of the Robot Chicken. And 3. Bang. Alrighty, okay, so Impala, over the last while the trend is down, actually, right? The trend is very much down. So what we need is we needed to break this high before we have a trend change situation in terms of Dow theory. We have so that those are not lower lows. So you're going to have to break this level here, which is what, 71.50ish, call it 72, that you have to break above in order for us to say that the trend has changed, right? We can also add a 50, 100, whoa, 100 and 200 day moving average, and say that, hey, we have the early signals of a trend changing, but we don't have Dow theory confirming that, because we've had these signals of a trend changing before, but we've seen that the Dow theory, it trumps all, right? So we have the potential of a trend change here, it is true, but we need to confirm this with Dow theory. If we look at on-balance volume, we now have 2 RSI readings. I don't want that, I want one OBV. Make the circle bigger. If we confirm this with the on-balance volume, what is interesting is that since this thing has been rallying, we have had quite an uptick in volume, right? So volume's been increasing into this rally. That is a good sign. Looking back at what it's been over the last couple of years while this thing's been trending down, that has not been the case, right? we had a brief sort of moment here where volume ticked up as well, but it tapered off, and this looks like it might be a bit more convincing. So all right, let's see. We can't say that we have a confirmed trend though. So moving averages, yes. Moving average cross, yes. Dow theory says no, so the trend is down for now, but OBV is positive, right? So long term, there's no trade yet. Remember, these are daily time frames, eh? So on 1 hour time frames, you could apply this as well. But if we ignore all of that stuff and we look just at the more, okay, so then let's go to a shorter term time frame, Petrus. Yeah, see, all right. Crunching these numbers, okay. So on the shorter term time frame, which is a 1 hour chart, the trend she is up, okay. What looks to me could be that's not what I meant to do. I want that one. Make it yellow and make it yellow. Make it solid. That might be a flat top triangle. It may well be a flat top triangle. I'm just going to refresh this thing because I don't know if the stream has dropped now. The channel is just observation, no real trade, but if you really want to... wait. Alright, okay. Alright, we're still going. So, that's a bit of a flat top triangle, right? Which is a bullish continuation or trend continuation signal in this case. So, and our trend is up. From a 1 hour chart, Dow theory is dictating that the trend is up as well. Let's look at what OBV is doing. OBV is confirming that our trend is up. MACD, I'm just going to have to zoom in here, guys. I'm looking at multiple indicators at the same time. MACD is giving us a buy signal. Stochastic is giving us a sell signal. RSI is giving us nothing. There's a bit of resistance. Oh, mind you, it's above. It's kind of not really giving us anything. It's above 50 at least, so trending up, I guess. But no signal on RSI. Buy signal here, sell signal here. Those look like I can't say bearish divergence because that's a flat top, so that's not divergence. That is bullish divergence. Is it? Yes, it is. All right. I'm gonna remove that, and I'm gonna remove that. So now just remember that we have that flat top here. So what we have here is these are lower lows, right? Those are higher lows, right? High lows, lower lows. Oh, skryp ek myself mors dit. So that is a valid setup for me. Ha 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 ha. So what you want to do here is the trigger. Okay, so we have a valid setup. Ha! So where are we going to stop loss? We're going to stop loss not the previous low, but the low just before that, or we're going to stop loss ATR times 2 trading stop. Go away. Go away. Go away. Go away. Alright. ATR. Average true range for the win. Make it big. Make it visible. Alright, so our ATR here So now just keep in mind that you're going to have to adjust this ATR according to when your trigger comes, but ATR is approximately 56 now, so that's going to be what 112. So we're going to enter a break of this 112. So that's going to be so tight, eh? That looks like ATR times 2 is just not going to be a big enough stop loss here. So I mean, 140 stop is not even this previous low, right? So I'm going to put the stop at this low, or at the second previous low. So now, I mean, to be a stickler, this I suppose you could do that, but that's crooking it like really badly. Your target here is only about that distance out, which is what, 3 Rand. Yeah, okay, so on the ATR times 2 you have a 3 Rand thing, but what you could potentially do is put your stop here and target this previous resistance level at 72. I think that's a better trade, because that's where our resistance level is on the daily, if we remember correctly. So on a 1 hour trade, that's a valid trade. So the trigger here is going to be a break of this resistance on a 1 hour candle close above it. And what we can see here is, I'm just going to remove this and this, because damn, it's too many things, man. That candle formation is we've got a couple of long weeks there. Well, we've got a long week there, so that is not the most bullish of candle formations around this resistance level. So what you're going to have to do is keep watching this this trend line. If we break this trend line or this red moving average here, as you can see, there's nice convergence here, then that would negate this trade idea basically. But this could be a nice long trade if we get a break of this. So you could even potentially, if you're like hyper aggressive, try and pick it up on a bounce off of this bottom trend here, or this bottom trend line here, or on a break of this trend here, with a stop loss here kind of below 56.25. That's a huge stop, but you're risking 4 and 12 cents for like you know, 10 Rand, almost 11 Rand 60 reward. That seems kind of worth it to me. That's like 1 to 2, 1 to 3 almost. So that's a decent trade, hey? Only one. And yeah, guys, I think that's gonna be it. I mean, it's been almost 2 hours. So I'm sorry, but I think, like, I'm glad that we actually found like a proper trade here in the end. So I think what's difficult is that, you know, if you look at one particular time frame, you need to have things line up. So from a time frame perspective, it can make things a little challenging. So what is encouraging, well, let's actually I just want to re-go through this thing here. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, have you guys got any questions? Let's ask any questions. I think what's important really is just to try and remember to not take too many, like, you know, if there is, you've got to keep things in context, you know. So there could be a number of things saying, okay, the trend is up, waning momentum. So Anglo-American Platinum, for example, is a good opportunity. Potentially, but there is like no real trigger to be looking for stuff. But if you are going to be trading it, try and look for long positions, right? So rather wait for a pullback for the stock to come back down. Then if there's a proper setup to go long, then go long. So momentum is slowing down. We can see that consolidation that's taking place, and that is why we are sort of staying cautious there, just to remind you what the chart looks like. Okay. So we're remaining cautious on this stock because we have this consolidation. A breakdown below into this blue block area could potentially be a long once we get into the blue block, but trading it short here is too much risk. For now, okay, that may change, but until that has changed, the trend here is too strong for us to fight against. Okay. For something like Nasdaq, we have what looks like it could be a major breakout of a resistance level, but it's not yet confirmed because it doesn't seem to have like enough momentum behind it. I'm just going to look at our little Nasdaq sheet here. So it doesn't look like it has enough momentum behind it, and but the trend is very strong. So we could, and there's no like real big volume on this breakout either, which is another, you know, usually when you have breakouts out of patterns or whatever the case is, or major candles, you know, reversal candles, it's nice to see those breaks and candles and turning points confirmed by like huge volume going through on the day. And that doesn't seem to be the case on this breakout of this downtrend. So it might just be a fake break. It may not be a fake break, it may be the real thing, we don't know, and that's why we've put up kind of like a barrier to say it needs to get through a certain level before we can start considering it, whether or not you know, there is a real trend change scenario here. And by the time that comes, then our indicators that we use to tell, you know, what the momentum is like will paint a significantly different picture by then, because, you know, enough bullish sort of ness would have come through to maybe start putting some buy signals on those indicators. We saw with Aspen that I mean, it's just dire, really, but it is also a little risky. Like, it's not this thing that you can just short and think it's going to go to zero. It may not, but we have conflicting kind of things. We have a total sentiment of -4, which wasn't great because the trend is very strongly down. But also we have like, I'm looking for words, you know, conflict between our momentum indicators. So yes, there's there's a sell signal, but there's also a buy signal, and the rest of them are kind of in the middle of the nowhere. So Aspen is just like a big fat stay away from at the moment. And unfortunately, you know, it's a bit of a painstaking process to go through the market one by one, doing the stuff to all the charts, but it's like eventually, as time goes by, you build yourself a score sheet. So you know, I'm just going to go back to our little you know, sort of building blocks of a strategy. Where did I put it? There. So you're going to go back to this kind of like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and you're going to, on the basis of that, build yourself a score sheet. And then you can go through the market and you can and find stuff that adheres to this score sheet, and you score stuff, and you build like a model. And you only look for long setups in stocks that score trend is up and momentum is in favor, or trend is up and my oscillators or my indicators that I use to indicate you know, buy or sell opportunities are in agreement. Then I can start looking for reasons to be, or, you know, once I have reasons to be long, once I have a trend that is on my side, then I can start looking for you know, potential entry points, break of resistance, formation, or whatever that case is. So you have to kind of, well, at least in my view, combine a number of different inputs in order to tell you whether or not you want to be long or short a particular stock. So something that I do, for example, is I look at relative performance versus the JSE, and based on that, as well as a number of other things, I then can create a universe of things that if the market is going up, I want to long those stocks only, or look for long positions in those stocks only, or if I'm taking longs, I want to look for longs in those shares only, and then converse on the short side. And that's really kind of like, that's really just technical analysis, to be honest with you. Just going through the market and just looking at a whole bunch of different things, and then putting that together into a strategy, and then basically just sticking to those rules. And that's basically, in a nutshell, what it comes down to. So quickly going to look at a couple of questions. So I'm just going to move the Discord over here, and we're going to go to the center. So I don't know how to say it. Ruxi. Would you consider next candle to be positive after trigger, to be an okay in terms of confirmation, or only OBV? Ruxi, I'm not sure what stock you're talking about. I'm assuming you're talking about IMP, Impala. So, okay, would you consider the next candle to be positive after? Okay, yeah, you're typing. I like it. And then is there any questions on the YouTube? No. Just in general. Oh, no specific stock. Okay, so you know, I used to, when I learned about candlesticks, used to be like crazy about them, and used to think that they were like, wow, you know, this Steve Neeson guy was really clever. And he was really clever. Let's not get it wrong. The analysis is great, but I found that just trying to trade off just those things are, well, to me, hasn't been very successful. Where I have found success with candlesticks is using them for particularly spinning tops, tweezer tops, tweezer bottoms, those types of things, hammer formations, inverse, the shooting star formations. Those stuff has worked really, really well for me. Maybe I just don't know enough of the candle formations off by heart to be able to you know, really tell. But I think that, like, what is nice is to see, if you have a breakout, is to see like a long candle. Like trying to think of a example. TKG. Let's see if TKG is the one. Is it gonna give us love? Okay, so this is daily TKG. So I'd like to see, like, example here. It's not right. And then you've candles. Like, that's a good sign for me, because that shows that, okay, this is serious. Here's another one. Boom, boom, boom. All right. And then, like, it would kind of be like, yeah, it's really strong. You would get stopped out in this situation. But there, it worked really well. There, 1, 2, 3, boom. A bit of a bounce and down. That's bearish engulfing candle. That's a hugely bearish engulfing candle. So these types of things work relatively well. If I'm looking for triggers to you know, let's say, for example, this is a resistance level here that you're looking at, and this particular candle right here, I don't know if you can see that, closes literally just above the close. That would be good enough for me. You know, exactly what candle that is doesn't necessarily matter, but here, for example, there's this little consolidation that takes place, and you see that super strong thrust candle is what it's called. That is very positive to me, and I would think, okay, cool, that's like something you could get long. You know, in this case, it's better to wait and patiently at the breakout level, which it usually is, better to do, and then you can get long off that. But that sort of thrust candle is a strong indicator for me. I want to see if I can find another example. Let's look at Vodacom, because Vodacom is a beautiful example of a stock to be short at the moment. So here, that this sort of inverse hammer situation here is very negative for me. But you know, I don't know. That is a bit of a thrust candle up, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 days trading inside. Well, that one's a bit out, but 4 real bodies inside of this candle. You know, I'll be honest, I don't quite know what that means. And then you have this one day that kind of like wipes out this day, and then another 3, 4 days inside. So yeah, I don't know. Like, for me, what was important here was a break at this level, close below it. It tried to fight back, close below it again. Tries to sort of fight back. Unfortunately, I did take a short here, and I did get stopped out, which sucks. And I haven't gotten back into the trade. But like, yeah, so it doesn't really have to have a specific kind of formation and a pattern, but like this stuff here, for example, you can see is a hanging man or whatever. That that is like pretty bearish stuff. But I wouldn't enter into a trade of that. Not on the daily chart, at least. Like I wouldn't ever use well, and maybe I should, but I wouldn't use candles really, or formations of candles really, to dictate whether or not I'm getting into trades. I could use them to get out of trades, but I wouldn't use them as a buy signal. I find that they are sometimes just a little too messy. Well, and also I can't get the right entries with the stuff, you know, like a lot of the time I'm relatively impatient, like especially with the longer term CFD stuff. I like to trade it either at the open or the close. You're in the auction, you have no real impact on what the price is going to be. So it's like, you know, I never seem to get like the best entries, and by the time this candle has finished forming, for example, you know, the move is mostly over for me. I've found, at least it hasn't been very successful for me. I don't know if I'm answering your question. I hope I am. So it would be nice to see a confirmation candle formation, but it's not necessary for me. No. Cool. Any other questions, guys? It seems not, so I'm gonna call it a night. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you again next week. And I think that what I'm gonna do next week is I'm gonna start moving on to new content, rather than going over through the same stuff again and again and again. I hope that we have looked at the stuff and kind of practiced it, and cemented the way in which we interpret these indicators, so that we can move on to the next set of topics. I'm staring straight at this, the camera's there. So yes, anyway, have a good evening. Once again, this video is cut in two, which is disappointing, so I'll have to download it, stitch the two together again, and then re-upload it so that it's one video. But this time I'm not going to take it down to do that, so you're welcome to watch both parts. And then I'll you know, I'll do a little edit and then replace the video later. And that is that, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a good evening. May the force be with you, and I hope you like the little ladder over there that my parrot runs up and down during the day. And yeah, let's use this information.